This summer's deadly wildfires and heat waves will soon be our new normal, according to California's fourth climate change assessment released by the governor's office this week.
That report sparked some scary headlines of a deadlier and more destructive future for our state, with omens of wildfires that could burn 77% more land than we've ever seen, as well as threats of high surf, droughts, and carbon emissions choking us with respiratory illnesses, water shortages, and power outages.
Thankfully, these dire predictions come with solutions. Hal Harvey, CEO of the policy firm Energy Innovation and the author of the new book, Designing Climate Solutions, a Policy Guide for Low Carbon Energy. Good morning.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Good to see you. So you and other speakers like former Vice President Al Gore are in LA for 3 days of training for the Climate Reality Project. What is that?
That's correct. Former Vice President Al Gore is training serious people around the world on how to think about climate change and especially how to react to it. 2,200 people showed up for this one in the LA Convention Center, and they will walk through the specifics of science, but focusing especially on what we can do about it.
The new state report agrees with climate researchers who say many millions of Californians live in climate danger zones. What are climate danger zones, and where are they, and why do they exist?
The first one that's obvious for Los Angeles should be the rising sea level. Projections right now are between 3 feet and 6 feet of rising sea level. That will affect the entire coast up and down California.
Over what period of time?
That's between now and the end of the century, so by 2100. But what happens is as it rises, then storm surges become much more dangerous. So you remember what happened in New Orleans. You also get these intense events of what they call atmospheric rivers. There was Hurricane Harvey just a year ago in Houston. Recently in Japan, they got much more than a year's worth of rain in 3 days. So when all your precipitation comes in one sudden event, you have a bit of a catastrophe. Here in LA, it'll be mudslides, floods, flipped over homes, buried cars, and the like.
There's also a particular focus on California wildfires, which, you know, we've seen so much of that over the past year or so. What is the current state of this problem, and then what are some potential solutions?
So what climate change does is it exacerbates the extreme weather events. So it pushes all the precipitation into a much smaller amount of time, and it comes down as rain instead of snow. And so what you're doing is you're failing to water the earth over the course of all spring and all summer through snowmelt. You're just getting a flood in the winter and then a drought.
That snowpack is so important that we always talk about, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it turns out that snowpack affects forest fires as well as skiing and certainly all of our water resources. So you dry out the earth, then you add heat to the whole equation. And then keep in mind, we've been suppressing forest fires for decades. So there's a huge buildup of fuel, and it takes very little to spark it, to send it off.
You're about policy, and all the science says there is a climate change happening. Global warming has been happening. Man is responsible. But you have many people who deny this, and there are people in government who also deny it. Does that make it more difficult to affect policy and for us to have change that affects all of us?
It certainly slows things down to have people to pretend that science doesn't exist or doesn't work. The prosperity of the American idea depends on science and engineering. We're an evidence-based society. And everything we do, you go to a hospital, your kid has leukemia, 97 doctors tell you the treatment. 2 of them say drink chamomile tea, and 1 of them says don't worry about it. What do? It's the same with climate change. Exactly. But it's important to switch to solutions, because if one just despairs, one gets nothing done at all. And fortunately, there's been, I think it's fair to say, a revolution in technology which can help us solve this problem. Just yesterday, the Assembly, California's government, voted to, by law, make 100% of electricity be generated by zero carbon sources by 2045. The governor has to sign it, of course. This is a great step forward. It turns out it's a practical and cheap step forward because of incredible cost reductions in solar and wind technology.
All right. Once again, thank you for coming in. The book is Designing Climate Solutions. For more information, you can go to energyinnovation.com. Thank you to Hal Harvey for being with us this morning.
.org.
.org.
Thank you very much.
.org.
Delighted to be here.
All right.